This is the presentation video for the Trimble Capstone group. We have 4 members, so Dwani, Stefano, Miguel, and myself, Kyle. Big thanks also to Devante, who was our point of contact at Trimble, and was a great help at getting us everything we needed to get our project complete.
For our capstone project this year, our sponsor company was Trimble. Trimble is a software as a service company that primarily serves architecture and construction services. They provide several core technologies that internationally help companies improve customer productivity and effectiveness sustainably.
Our project goal was to create a way to visualize JSON procedures. These JSON procedures were oftentimes hundreds of lines long, making it difficult for new users to understand what they were doing, as well as how to edit them. Our idea was to create a web app that clearly shows how data flows through these systems so that users could get a better understanding of how they work. We also integrated features so that users could easily edit these procedures, things such as changing the name or editing parameters and inputs and outputs.
So our solution to the problem Trimble was having was to create a workflow visualizer for existing and new procedures. So essentially, our application we're able to create, edit, and delete workflows as the internal user needs. So this definitely provides a better way for the internal users to create, edit, delete, and manage procedures within this application that we created for them. So this essentially takes out the manual use of managing the procedures and the workflows and things like that. You can do so right from the app. You can click on a operation and you can edit the input and output parameters. You can also delete the procedure, upload it to the cloud. You can save it. You can view the parameters. You can do a lot of things with our application, and it definitely suits a better way to manage the procedure itself rather than having to manually go into the JSON file or manually create the JSON files to do everything our application does.
This is our project architecture. A Flask-driven backend would take the Trimble API, which was the JSON list of procedures, and it would send it to the front end, which was mainly React components. We then used AWS to deploy our website.
Some of the big challenges that we had through the progression of the project are highlighted here. So one being working on the corporate time schedule. So throughout the beginning of the semester, of the fall semester, receiving data was a little bit hard just because we had to go through a lot of people and get some approval to get some of the data. And when we did get that data, it was only a few examples of the procedures and the workflows, so we weren't able to kind of understand and see what we needed to do. But once we got the data dump a little on, towards the end of the fall semester, we were able to better understand what we were working with. So that was definitely a challenge. And another challenge was working with new tools and languages. So for a lot of us, React, Flask, and some of us, AWS, there was a big learning curve with each of them. We weren't very familiar with them, so we spent the first couple of months getting used to them and getting to know them, which definitely did prove useful now, just because they're used in many forms of new startups and things like that. But overcoming that challenge, we were able to get things done. And then the last being the COVID-19 coronavirus. This definitely created complications just because we had to meet and work on things on our own and without each other's help when we did meet. So Zoom and Hangout were sometimes a little complicated in terms of like, oh, like I don't have strong Wi-Fi, I can't hear you, things, technological, errors and things like that, which definitely made things a little more complicated but not impossible.
Some of the expected work goals we had were to be able to run procedures in our application. Though this was an out-of-scope goal, it was something we had hoped to complete if we had more time. We also wanted to spend more time designing our home page, but did not worry about that as much since the actual application was working. Some of the actual work we completed included being able to create, edit, delete, and visualize procedures and workflows. We also provided a user-friendly interface so that the workflows should be relatively easy to navigate.
Now I'm going to run through a quick demo of the final result of our web app. So here's the home page, which shows the list of all the available procedures for maybe a given user, but in our case it just shows all of the procedures that were given to us to work with. So if I go to a specific procedure, you can see this is the procedure page, and this is a graph of all of the operations for a procedure. This one in particular is pretty involved, so if I hover over any of these operations, it will only highlight the edges and this specific node in the graph. Then I can go into the operation screen, and it'll show us our parameters. And so in this case we have all these fixed value parameters, so I can change this to false. This isn't necessarily a boolean, it can be anything I want. So I'll just change that, save it. You can see we can also change this part of the procedure. I don't know, just change it to something. Now it says HTML, and it moved down here. It did refresh. I don't know if that's alphabetical or what. Maybe I can find, in this case it's the source, so this will give us a list of the procedure parameters that we can pick from. So we're not actually, running these procedures, so I can change it to whatever I want right now. So those operation parameters come from this parameters list. So for example, this one doesn't have a default value, this one has a default value. Could go through, and then we can change these, Oh, that looks like a bug. Okay. It did only change this one. We won't worry about that. Yep, and then if I go over here, I can just add, this one, I'll just pick anything really. So maybe this. So add that. This will show the outputs. I could go through, but I don't really want to. And then test stop. Just call it that. Click there, and looks like it was added down here. So that's because I used this as the input. It's going to be in the same column as all of these. And then if we go over here, we can see the description. I can change it to whatever. I can change the name. And then I can save the changes. So now if I do a refresh here, this just reloaded it from the server. Everything that I changed is the same. We've still got all this stuff. If I had, for example, changed this without saving, it's not going to save the changes. And then the last thing, I guess, is to delete. So this is the delete forever button. And if I were to, it doesn't delete from here, but if I were to try to go back, you'll see it doesn't load. And so yeah, there's our app.
This project was a very fulfilling thing to work on. It was really nice to be able to work on a project from start to finish and see the actual results from our work. The key lessons from this project were planning ahead, time management, and working in a team. It was nice to learn new experiences such as React that I'll be able to take farther in my career, such as using React to develop better front ends. The key strategy in our team was communication. With this, we were able to get more and better work done because we were openly communicating with who was doing what. Some of the difficulties we experienced in this team was learning a new stack. Previously, none of us had React experience before, so that took a while to get used to using this new language.
This project was a way for me to improve my technical background and be able to get more exposure of what a workplace is like. I learned front-end development tools like React.js and website development. This experience helped me prepare myself for the future and be able to work in a production team. We were successful by working together and overcame difficulties we faced, like not knowing AWS or React, but effectively communicated together. That way we could solve these problems. COVID-19 also was a bit of a problem because we couldn't meet up in person, but we overcame that by still staying on top of things and still communicated with each other via Slack and regular calls every week. I felt great to be a part of this project and this experience because I know it grew me as a person and my technical skills. And so going out into the career, I feel much more comfortable knowing I've already had this kind of experience before.
before this project, I had a decent amount of experience in industry as a software developer intern. So the main thing that I wanted to get out of this project was applying some of the methods and tools, both from the original software development methods and tools class and from the internship that I worked. So, doing this without the help of professionals was a great experience at applying some of this stuff.
Overall, for me, this project was pretty cool just because I got to learn a lot of new skills and I was able to add to my tool set. Um, this definitely helps for my future endeavors just because this experience helped me work as a team, and I was able to, take charge of one part, and that part would be used and for the betterment of the whole group and the whole project. So that definitely helped a lot. And along with that, the corporate versus school setting, I got to learn what it was like in the corporate setting, how to talk to people, not only technological people but regular people, and seeing how those people's skills were necessary, especially even if you are going into a technology company, a technology field. And my overall feelings is, some lessons learned also is that we definitely have to work together to make a whole product. We can't rely solely on one thing or one person to complete everything. We have to work together as a team. Ask for help when needed, and I think that's very important and definitely a lesson learned. But overall, the whole project experience was pretty great. I learned a lot and definitely acquired some skills that I'll definitely take past this class.